Disgruntled, and we have a special guest on today, and Antonio Martira. Wait, crap, I mispronounced that. How do you say your last name?
Matarrita.
Matarrita. We have a special guest today since the season is ended and there's no more football talk. So I just thought that we would start having special guests on talking about football, talking about sports. So do you want to plug your any social media, your Instagram or whatever?
Sure. So my Instagram username is Antonio underscore Matarrita, and that's spelled Matarrita, and that's on my Instagram.
We're just going to be talking about some sports today, and I'm going to be asking Antonio here some questions. So let's just get right to it, I guess. How did you get started on Instagram and reporting on your favorite sport teams?
So I got started on Instagram because when I got it, a lot of people started getting Instagram, and I didn't want to make my Instagram account just about myself. So I thought it would be a good idea to post about my sports teams, and so that's how I started that. I wanted to like meet new people, new sports fans, and just talk sports to people because I really enjoy doing that. So that's how I got started on Instagram.
That's awesome. How long have you been like posting to Instagram and like doing research and stuff?
I'm pretty sure it's been between 5 and 7 years now. I don't remember the exact year that I got it, but it's been a while that I've been posting. I have like over 1,000, almost over 1,000 posts now.
That's awesome. I remember. Sorry for my cough. I got a little tickle on my throat, but when I did the Instagram account or started over the summer, I kind of stopped. But you're like one of the first people who like followed me and then started liking my stuff, and it meant a lot and stuff. I just love like all your posts and how like you go into analysis of each
Thank you.
like post you do. Out of every team that you report on, what is like who is your favorite team to do research and then eventually like post about?
I know you probably want one for this answer, but I'll probably say the Eagles and the Penguins just because they're on state teams and I'm able to watch all of their games and stuff. So it's easier for me to like make posts and comments and stuff because I actually am able to watch all of their games, unlike some of the other teams that I like. So probably the Penguins and the Eagles.
That's awesome. Yeah, I just found it kind of a coincidence or whatever because my girlfriend, she likes the Penguins and I wasn't a big hockey fan.
Oh,
Who
really?
Yeah, I wasn't a big hockey fan and I'm starting to get into hockey and stuff, and so naturally I didn't really have a team in hockey, so I kind of grabbed like shifted towards Penguins. So I can say like I'm a kind of a Penguins fan, but I just don't know like enough to be like
I get that.
yeah, but like I'm drifting that way where I'm like having that like I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan and then I'm also like a Penguins fan as well, or drifting towards that.
Just like me.
Yeah,
Hockey is a really fun sport to watch. I never played it, but I would say that's my favorite sport, and it's especially exciting during the playoffs because there's like nothing like it. And I think the Stanley Cup's the best trophy in sports. That thing's freaking huge. Pretty cool because they have all the names of the players engraved on it from all the championship teams. I think that's pretty cool.
yeah. I think out of like every trophy, it's the coolest, and it has like the like most sentimental value too because it's like it keeps adding on to it and
Yeah,
the tradition surrounding it.
and I know that players and coaches and stuff during the off season they get to have like a day or two at the Stanley Cup and they get to like do what they want with it and stuff. And I'm not exactly sure about this, but I think it might be the oldest trophy in like the major sports too.
That's really interesting, but yeah, I just like love it too because just like what the players do with it and able to do with it and stuff. And then I agree with you. I think with a playoff stance, I think hockey is probably the most interesting just because of the series and how interesting it can actually get to. Because I didn't really watch hockey until the beginning of this year or around like August to early September when the playoffs were actually happening.
Yeah, I remember you had those. You posted some videos; those were funny.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, and then like that's like the most amount of time I actually watched hockey. And one of my friends is like an Islanders fan, as you can tell from like the videos and stuff. And then like
Yeah,
I was like, even though I'm not like an Islanders fan or a Flyers fan or whatever, I was still like invested into like watching the game, and it was so entertaining to watch and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
How do you go about like researching and then eventually like creating a post?
It's actually pretty easy. Like I said, for the Eagles and the Penguins, it's easier because I can like watch all the games, so I have like more to say about those two teams. But I still post about some of my other teams that I like, but I'm not able to watch all of their games, so I have to do a little bit more research on them.
Do you have like a favorite like website, or do you just like go and watch highlights too on it?
I usually watch highlights and I read a lot of articles from my teams, so I get a lot of good information from the articles that I read. So that, and then I usually do a lot of stats on my posts. So I just go on like ESPN or like the official like NFL or ESPN or NHL websites and get stats and stuff. And I usually have that in my posts.
Yeah, because like every like post I see from you, it's like very like informational and stuff, and then I like read it and everything, and I feel like I know like a lot more about it, and then it just seems like a lot of stats and stuff, and then I was just curious on how you actually got all of that.
I used to make my posts I feel like too long, like they would be too long, so I kind of try to shorten them.
Yeah, I think
But not
there's
too short, like a good amount, a good length.
yeah, I think there's like a happy medium where it's like you can put a lot of information and still be like informational, where it's like not too long, but then like
Yeah,
the happy medium or whatever. And I think you found that like perfect pinpoint spot.
thank you.
You're welcome.
And then another thing that I do is I post a lot on my story,
Mhm.
and that's sometimes easier than making a post. So I always have a bunch of stuff on my story, and I don't just post about the teams that I like. Like I'll post like NFL news and NHL news, NBA news. Like if something's interesting, I'll post on my story and like give my opinion about it.
That's awesome. And then the one thing that I noticed is you seem like you're like like a diverse like sports fan, because like your teams range from the Pittsburgh Penguins to the Philadelphia Eagles to the Chicago Bulls. How did you like get into that many different teams? Because usually like people have their favorite sports teams and like stay in that city. Obviously, like Philadelphia Eagles and then Philadelphia Flyers, Philadelphia Phillies, etc. There'll be like all fans of that. So how did you like kind of spread your, I guess, like fan base?
So I actually have like obviously a different reason for liking all of my teams. So I'll just start with the Eagles. So I started liking the Eagles in the mid 2000s. I remember they were on TV one day. I forget who they were playing. It might have been the Saints. I think it might have been a playoff game. I just remember in that playoff game there was this huge hit.
As the tailback, Reeves swings it out to Bush. The ball is knocked away.
I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but it was a huge hit and the guy fumbled it and
Mhm.
stuff. I'm pretty sure that was the first game I was watching, so that's how I like the Eagles. I like their jerseys too and their colors and stuff. So that's kind of how I started liking the Eagles. And for the Penguins, I became a fan in 2008 because they were on TV too. It was the playoffs and sort of the same thing. I liked their logo and their colors and stuff and being with it being a PA team. So I started liking them in 2008. And then with the Bulls, I started liking them when they drafted Derrick Rose out of Memphis. He was one of the most exciting players coming out of college. Like he was so fun to watch. And it's just a shame that he had all these injuries because he could have won a couple championships, I think. For Manchester United, I started liking them because they had a player named Wayne Rooney, and he was really fun to watch too. So
Mhm.
that's how I started liking them. And then the last team is the York Revolution. That's a baseball team here where I live. They're not a minor league team. They're an independent league team, which is different from minor league because they don't have a major league team. It's just an independent league, the Atlantic League. But that's one of the best independent leagues in the country. So the competition is really good in that league. And I've been going to their games since they opened up here.
That's awesome. It seems like you've like been fans of each team like for a while, and it's not like it doesn't sound like you like bandwagoned any of them, or it's like there's like a specific reason why like you like each team, which I find really
It's
interesting.
really annoying though, because I've gotten so many times on social media that I'm bandwagon because I like teams from like all different cities, which is so annoying. I have my reasons for liking all of my teams. And the thing is, I don't live in a major city with major sports teams. So it's more normal for someone like me to like a bunch of different teams from different cities than someone that lives in like a major city with like all four major sports.
That makes sense. And when people attack you on about being a bandwagon, I feel like that's like the most annoying thing too. Like, because like,
Exactly, because there's
yeah,
nothing that says you have to like all the teams from one city. There's a
yeah,
lot of people that like teams from different cities.
exactly. And you've been like a Pittsburgh Penguins and Eagles fan since like 2008. Like that's
Exactly, and
longevity.
I live in Pennsylvania too, and those are Pennsylvania teams. It's not like I live so far away and I just started liking these teams because they're good. That's not how it is.
Yeah. And plus you became a Penguins fan before they won the back-to-back Stanley Cups as well. I think it
Yeah, and
was
then actually the year after I became a fan, they won too.
um
I've been pretty spoiled though, because they've won 3 or 5 championships since I've been a fan, and they've made the playoffs in every season since I've been a fan. So whenever they miss the playoffs, it's gonna be tough because they haven't missed the playoffs since I've been a fan.
that's funny. You became a fan at the perfect time.
Yeah, exactly.
And I find that really cool because yeah, but I agree with you. Like when people use that argument, like you're a bandwagon, you only like became a sports fan of that specific city just because they were doing good. Like after the Eagles won the Super Bowl, I was getting a lot of those comments too because I did like reaction videos to
Mhm.
throughout that playoffs and then at the Super Bowl. And I had like a lot of comments saying, "Oh, you just bandwagoned them for this year," but then like I have like proof that like I was fan and like a fan of since like 2015. Well, I mean, I've been a fan since longer than 2015, but I've been starting posting since 2015. So I have like that evidence.
Yeah, that's how I feel. We both have proof to prove to people that think that they know us and stuff.
Yeah, and it's annoying because it's like if they actually do like a little bit of scrolling, they would see that we were fans for way longer.
I will say I never imagined that being an Eagles fan would be called us being called a bandwagon because they've been bad most seasons. And then they win one Super Bowl and people want to call them bandwagons.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
had more than enough suffering.
Yeah, we just like enjoy one season of them actually being good without being called a
I
bandwagon.
I just hope it's not like another 50 years until they win the Super Bowl again. I can't do that.
Yeah, I can't do that either. It's such a struggle with all the
It's
like
always something always has to go wrong with this team, I swear.
yeah, now it's like looking like we're going to wait another 50 years because of all the freaking like news surrounding them with like Carson Wentz, with Doug Peterson.
They're a freaking
Everything.
disaster right now.
Yeah, what do you think of that like entire situation from like after the season to now? Like, what do you think?
I mean, I think anyone with a brain could answer this. I think it's Howie Roseman easily. He's screwed everything up the last couple seasons. I feel like the year they won the Super Bowl, he made a couple nice signings and stuff, but ever since then he's done like everything wrong, especially in the draft. He's missed out on so many freaking good players, and the Eagles have gotten guys that haven't like produced at all. And it's so annoying to see all these other players going off on their teams and then the Eagles guys either getting injured or not doing anything. And it's so frustrating. So I'm just hoping that they don't screw it up this year's draft, but I don't even know what to expect.
Yeah, and I feel like Howie Roseman kind of got lucky in the Super Bowl run because it was like a new like strategy or whatever to sign like guys to these like 1 to 2 year deals where we don't pay them a lot, and the league kind of never really saw that before. And so I think that's how we had that much success. And then once the league caught on how like Howie Roseman did it, like Roseman like lost all of his credibility, and like you said, he sucked ever since.
And not only has he been like horrible with draft picks, but he's given some guys some like really bad contracts. And now I know I saw the other day the Eagles have like the second fewest cap space. I think the last place team's the Saints, but they're in the freaking negatives. And they're gonna have to get rid of so many players just to get to above negative, and that sucks because there's going to be a lot of fan favorites that are going to be gone, and guys that are just going to be cut, and the Eagles aren't going to get anything for that. That could happen with Zach Ertz, I think, but I hope he at least gets traded and they get something back for him and they don't just cut him because I still think he could be a very good player.
I agree. At one point, I think we were like, I think I saw a list and we were like at negative 70 million down in a hole at one
I
point,
don't
which
even
is
know how
like
that's
absurd.
possible.
Yeah, like how does that even happen? I don't understand how that happens. But yeah, the sad thing about like all these fan favorites is that we don't have many players left after like if Wentz leaves is if Ertz leaves. Like we have like Miles Sanders and maybe Fletcher Cox and I guess Brandon Graham somewhat. But like I feel like we're in this like new Philadelphia Eagles like era where we've completely like changed our entire teams and like we don't have any sentimental value on any player anymore.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I agree with that.
And it kind of sucks about the how Howie Roseman did it with like these 1 to 2 year contracts. It's like we can't attach to like any specific like player because like then they're gone the next year.
Exactly.
What are your thoughts on this Carson Wentz like saga thing and all of this like dramatic news articles popping up the past like couple weeks on him?
I just think the Eagles have handled this whole situation as worst as possible. I didn't think it was a really that much of an issue drafting Jalen Hurts. Like I was fine with that draft pick. But like even before then, the Eagles weren't doing enough to help Carson Wentz. They'd sign other positions and draft other positions, but they never really helped him like some other quarterbacks around the league have been helped with their teams getting them receivers and new O linemen and more weapons and stuff. And Carson Wentz hasn't really had that, especially compared to like Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. He has all those freaking receivers and like their third or fourth receiver would be better than our first receiver. That just tells you all you need to know. And it's just frustrating because Carson Wentz has been put in this situation because of Howie Roseman and management.
Yeah, I think the management and organization as a whole just completely flawed Carson Wentz and not even Carson Wentz too, or solely Carson Wentz, but like Zach Ertz as well, and all these like top other players on our team who are like one in a lifetime, like kind of players. And
Yeah.
I agree with you too, because like Dak Prescott got adapted into like the number one like offensive line as well. Like you have the number one offensive line to like
And then
play with.
and it helps when you have Ezekiel Elliott, who's like a top 10 running back, and then you
Mhm.
have all those great receivers and stuff. Almost any quarterback could be good in an offense like that with those kind of guys around them.
We saw in the Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes and him having no offensive line and we were able to see like one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now struggle with no offensive line and not being
That
able to score a
was
touchdown.
that was crazy. I was not expecting that game to go that way. And no one imagined that the Chiefs would only have 9 points. They didn't even get a touchdown. That was crazy. But
Yeah.
that's what happens when you don't have an offensive line like the Eagles had this season.
Mhm.
Even after Carson Wentz was benched, Jalen Hurts, he did all right. I saw a lot of good things out of him. But even he got sacked a good number of times. Even though he can escape the pocket and stuff, it doesn't matter if you don't have an offensive line because the players in the NFL are too good on defense, and it doesn't matter how athletic you are if you don't have a good offensive line, you're gonna get sacked a lot.
I think some of that success from Jalen Hurts is because that was like his first start in the NFL and or like first time like actually playing a few series, and I think the league just didn't really know how to adapt to him, and so that's I think where some of his success came from. But later in the season, the last game against Washington and the last half against the Cowboys, teams started to figure out kind of how to play against Jalen Hurts, and we seen him struggle with a bad offensive line, not being able to score a passing touchdown, only coming from rushing touchdowns in the Washington game, and not being able to score any points against the Cowboys in the second half. So we kind of see his struggles come from without an offensive line.
Those are definitely two of the worst games I've ever watched because the Cowboys freaking destroyed the Eagles, and then that Washington game, the Eagles easily could have won that, but you know what happened.
Yeah. And
That was crazy.
what are your thoughts on the Washington game and like Doug Peterson like so obviously tanking?
I was actually okay with it because the Eagles got a higher draft pick, even though it was a couple more spots. That still makes a big difference because I think if they would have won that, they would have got the 9th or 10th pick, but
Mhm.
instead they had the 6th pick, and they should be able to get who they want with that pick. I don't think they'll have to trade up to get who they want. Like, I would be against trading up. I wouldn't be against trading back maybe to get 2 first-round picks maybe. I don't think they need to trade up. I think they should just stay at 6 and draft a receiver.
I agree. The only one good thing about Howie Roseman is that he knows how to draft in the top 10, like the top 10 draft picks, which is like kind of easy to do because you can't really like screw that up. I think he's gotten Carson Wentz, and I think Fletcher Cox was a top 10
I
pick. I
know
don't know.
Lane Johnson was too.
Yeah, so he's been getting like really good like superstars almost on the top 10. So I guess
I'm
that's
pretty
like
sure Brandon Graham was too, so yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so it's just he has success in the top 10 in the draft.
But I freaking saw this rumor today that the Eagles might get a freaking quarterback with the 6th pick. If they do that, I'm gonna be done. That would be so freaking stupid to pick a quarterback with that pick or trade for one. Like, I would be so mad if they take a quarterback. But knowing them, they'll probably just take a defensive tackle.
Yeah, exactly. We just don't know how to draft. I think I'm on the same boat with you. If we get like another flipping quarterback in the top 10, then I'm like
I'm
done.
gonna be so angry.
Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
convinced that most of the fan base could make better draft picks than Howie Roseman at this point because who knows what that guy's gonna do. I just hope they don't take a quarterback with that pick.
100% because there's like super good and talented wide receivers in this draft. And
There's really only 2 positions that I'd want them to draft with that pick: wide receiver or cornerback.
yeah,
There's a
exactly.
couple pretty good cornerbacks available too that they could get with that pick, so they should get wide receiver or cornerback with their 6th pick.
And I wouldn't even mind like two, maybe if we got a linebacker as well, because we're kind of struggling in the position of linebacker. Out of like those three positions, like if you don't pick one out of those three positions, then like they're dumb. But
Yeah, it's pretty obvious like what the team really needs, so
yeah,
it's almost impossible to screw that pick up. I just hope, like I said, they get a wide receiver or cornerback and not a freaking quarterback.
yeah, and I don't know why we still have Howie Roseman. Like, I don't know why Jeffrey Lurie likes Howie Roseman so much. I don't know what Howie Roseman has to do to get fired, but it's just annoying at this point because like he just drafts like crap, and if we do end up getting another quarterback, it's just going to be a glaring like problem then because there's so many other positions that we need to focus on, and I feel like the quarterback position is the absolutely last position that we need.
Yeah, that would make that Jalen Hurts pick last year a complete waste because he probably wouldn't be starting if they draft a quarterback. They'll just be so stupid.
Exactly.
Like I said, I like Jalen Hurts. I think he could be good with the Eagles, but I just think Carson Wentz is the better option, and I hope they keep him. But I think it would just be best for him to be traded because of everything that's happened.
Yeah, I feel bad for him because like he loves Philly, and just how much he's like rooted into Philly with like all his how he helped the city of Philadelphia with like homeless population, and just how he just funded Philadelphia and helped all these like different things, and just has like so many roots in Philadelphia. Wait, what was that? I for some reason I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, did it cut out a little bit?
Yeah, I cut out for the last section that you said there.
I said that Carson Wentz, he gets so much hate and he's actually a really good person and people don't even care about that. He just gets all this hate and it's so annoying.
Yeah, I agree. And I would love to have Wentz in Philadelphia and stay him for another like rest of his career, but it's looking like it's not coming to that end. So it's kind of sad. And I don't mind Jalen Hurts. Like Jalen Hurts is like a good quarterback. There's some improvements, but I would rather have Carson Wentz any day because Eagles Galaxy posted the statistics. I don't know if you saw that. I know
Yeah,
you.
the other day it was comparing Carson Wentz's stats to I think Randall Cunningham and Donovan McNabb, and not all of them, but almost all of Wentz's stats were better than those two.
Yeah, and then like some of like the glaring flaws with Wentz, like his fumbles or his interceptions, like they were right par with Randall Cunningham and Dominic McNabb, and then both of those quarterbacks are like Eagle legends, and he's having better numbers than both of them. So it's like sad to see.
I actually have some stats written down right here, not counting this season, but the previous 3 seasons. Carson Wentz was 25-15. He threw for 10,409 yards, 81 touchdowns, 21 interceptions, and he had 7 game-winning drives. So 81 touchdowns to 21 interceptions, that's really good. And he had over 10,000 yards, a good record. And people seem to forget that. They just want to focus on this past season where he had really bad numbers and everything was bad. But then again, the whole Eagles team was horrible, so it's hard to blame that on just one player when the whole team was bad. People were quick to forget how good he was the previous 3 seasons before this, but they just want to focus on this past season when the whole team was bad. I don't get that.
Yeah, I don't understand that either. Because, like, I'll admit, like, some of the decisions that Wentz did make were pretty bad. And, like, what was he doing on that? But, like, it wasn't all of his fault because, like you said, the entire team was bad as well. The coaches were bad. Organization was bad. Just how they, like, handled the entire situation. There's absolutely no offensive line. That wasn't the offensive line's fault because, like,
There's so many injuries.
yeah.
Like
Like,
on paper, the Eagles have a top 10 offensive line, but like everyone got freaking hurt every game. So they had to go through like 20 different combinations throughout the season. And it's almost impossible to have good offense when you have to do that. I know they had like a record for like most different starting offensive line combinations in like the first 12 or 13 games. It's crazy.
if you put any quarterback into that like situation, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, they're all do like horrible and have so many like picks. So like I
Yeah,
hate
that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter how good the quarterback would be if they would have been behind that Eagles offensive line from this past season. And you saw with Jalen Hurts how athletic he is and stuff. He was getting sacked too and stuff. That's just how bad it was.
yeah, and then also the receivers, there was no one to throw to either. I mean, we drafted the Jalen Rager, which was a good pick, I think. But they just weren't getting open, and we just didn't have any really receivers. The best receiver, probably, I don't know, maybe Alshon Jeffrey or Deshaun Jackson. But even then, both of them were getting injured, and Jeffrey's on the decline of his previous performance. So we can't even like pinpoint them as like good receivers, and it just sucks.
I wish the Eagles had an elite receiver because I feel like they've gone through so many receivers and like their best ones would be like average on other teams. It's just so frustrating. Can't seem to get that position right.
Yeah, and I've been like looking back on it and I've seen like how many receivers they have, and I'm starting to think maybe it's not a lack of talent that we've been getting, but like a lack of like development. We're not developing them well, and the lack of development is creating like lack of growth with these the younger guys because we have a bunch of young guys for that wide receiver position that have talent, but we're just not developing them to utilize that talent that we've brought in.
Yeah, that's really true because you see rookies and not even rookies, but like second or third year players doing really well on other teams. But it seems like the Eagles' best receivers are guys that they just happen to sign off the practice squad or something like Travis Fulgham. He wasn't even on the team. And he ended up leading the Eagles in receiving yards. Like I said, he wasn't even with the team to start the season. And then you have someone like Greg Ward, who's been around a couple seasons, but he hasn't even played in that many games because he was on the practice squad and they kept cutting him and stuff. And those guys weren't like draft picks or anything. And they've gone through so many wide receiver coaches and stuff, and that probably has something to do with it too.
Looking back on it, Jalen Reagor throughout his like college career, he had so much talent and so much potential. And we drafted him in the first round, expecting he's a first round like draft pick. You expect him to have like such more, just do so much more than what he did. I mean, there's these few like bright spots of this year from Jalen Reagor, like that punt return for a touchdown and a few
That
really
was
good.
maybe the play of the season for the Eagles. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was such a good play and fun to watch, and or like a couple bombs he caught. But just from what he did throughout, he didn't live up to a first round draft pick like Justin Jefferson, even CD Lamb. CD Lamb didn't really perform as well as many people were
And
predicting.
then there's also guys like T. Higgins and friggin' Chase Claypool had like 100 touchdowns against the Eagles, which is so annoying because
Yeah.
he had his best game against the Eagles and they just couldn't stop him.
Exactly. But like, I just don't understand because I feel like Jalen Reagor could do as well as those players, if not better. We're just not developing them.
Yeah,
But
I really like Jalen Reagor. I really like that pick because my prediction for them, it was either Jalen Reagor or Justin Jefferson, and I would have been fine with either of those guys. And we also what Justin Jefferson did, but it's only been one season, and I think Jalen Reagor will still be a really good player. He just has to stay healthy because he was injured like once or twice, and that really hurt his development, getting injured and stuff. So he just has to stay healthy, and then I think his numbers will get better.
yeah, exactly. I have a lot of promise for him, or there is a lot of promise for him. But I'm just interested or curious whether if we drafted a Justin Jefferson or even going back a couple of seasons, a DK Metcalf, how they would like perform on our team. If they would perform as good as they are on the Seahawks or the Vikings, where they can actually develop good wide receivers. I would be curious if you actually drafted one in, they would actually do good
The
on our.
Eagles offense would be so much better if they had both of those guys, or even just one of them.
Mhm. But I was just like curious if like we would like somehow mess that up too and mess up the development of them and like they end up sucking on our team. But I was mad when we didn't draft either of them. But I am really happy with the Jalen Reagor pick.
Yeah, I think he has a potential to be a number one receiver, definitely a number two receiver. And the thing is, he can be used on special teams too, and not all receivers are used on special teams, so they can use them on that and on the offense.
What are your thoughts on the Zach Ertz like saga with starting the last season with that argument with Howie Roseman and just exploding in practice and then him not really performing how he usually does throughout last season and then trade rumors again after the season ended.
I just think the whole situation is really sad because it's bad when you hear a player get in an argument like that with management like that. That's never good.
Mhm.
I'm surprised he wasn't even traded during this past season. And the only reason he wasn't traded is because I remember they put him on IR or something around the trade deadline. So they couldn't trade him then. But I don't think his struggles this past season were him not trying. I just think it was the whole team, like I said, like the offense, the quarterback position, how bad it was, and the offensive line and the receivers, just like the whole offense. Like very few players on the team had good stats, especially on offense, except for like Miles Sanders or like Dallas Goddard. Like everyone else struggled. It's just sad how the situation has gone. And like I said, I hope the Eagles are able to trade him for something instead of just having to cut him and not get anything back.
Yeah, I agree. Zach Ertz is my favorite Eagle player as of now, just because of how long he's been on the team. I think he's been on the team since like 2012 or something like a long time. So like he's the longest tenured Eagle, maybe. I could be wrong, other than maybe Jason Peters.
Zach Ertz, he's without a doubt a top three tight end in Eagles history. He's up there with Brent Selleck, definitely.
Mhm. Agreed. And at one point, he was a top three, if not top two, tight end within the
Yeah, like two,
entire league.
two or three seasons ago, he was up there. His stats are really good. I remember he had the most receptions by a tight end, I think, in a single season. And I was reading the other day, he almost has the most receptions in Eagles history, but he probably won't break that because he's probably not going to be on the team.
And it's sad to see because I want him to be cemented in Eagles history and break some of those Eagles records. So it's sad to see that he won't be able to do that.
The Eagles don't win the Super Bowl without Zach Ertz because he made that catch on fourth down, and then he had that touchdown too. So without him, they wouldn't have a Super Bowl.
Yeah, sad to see. I guess going to the running back, you alluded to Miles Sanders having a really good season. What do you think about his lack of carries and him having such a good season?
He had a really good season, but I think a lot of people expect him to have a better season. Like he was good rushing the ball and stuff, but I think more people, including myself, expected him to do better catching the ball. I remember he had like so many drops on like easy passes, but then again, some of them weren't that easy. They were just bad throws and stuff. But I was expecting him to kind of be like an Alvin Kamara and be sort of like that, not get a ton of carries, but get a good number of carries, but also catch the ball out of the backfield and stuff. But that didn't really happen with any of the running backs. So I think it would help the Eagles to maybe get a third string running back or something that can catch the ball and stuff. And like I said, I really like Miles Sanders. I just think the Eagles have to get a better backup running back in the draft or free agency.
My only like critique is this is more the organizational flaw than actually Miles Sanders' flaw, but he needs way more carries because he hadn't had 20 carries in the past 2 seasons with the Eagles. He hasn't had 20 or over in like a season and a half. I think he broke that one game. I forget what it is, but you're seeing some of these other really good running backs like Aaron Jones, Derrick Henry, having like 25 to 30 plus carries per game and them rushing for crazy amount of yardage.
I think they should give him more carries because it seems like usually when the offense is at its best is when they're giving him a lot of carries and they're running the ball. The Eagles' offense are not meant to be throwing the ball as many times as other offenses, so they should just give him more carries because they usually do better when he's getting more carries. The offense usually does better.
Yeah, and he's like averaging like 6 yards per carry too throughout the season. So it's not like he was only averaging like 2 or 3. He was averaging like a crap ton, and they still weren't giving it to him.
Like, I know you can't run the ball in every play, but the Eagles could definitely run it more than they've been. It'll take a lot of pressure off of the quarterback having to throw the ball that many times and stuff.
Exactly. And then the one drive, I think it was the first drive against the Browns, we just ran the ball on every single play, but then Miles Sanders ended up fumbling on that drive and then
Yeah, I
kind of
remember that. That sucked because they were inside the 10, and I thought they were gonna get a touchdown to open that drive, but they just fumbled it.
yeah, my point being is like we ran the ball the entire length of the field without like even like getting tripped up or anything, but like we have that potential where we could
It
like
was so obvious. It was so obvious that they were gonna keep running the ball. Like the Browns knew it was coming, but they still couldn't stop it. That's the thing.
I agree with you. Like obviously you can't like run the ball on every single drive, but we had an entire drive where we ran like probably 90% of the time, probably even more percentage than that. And it like succeeded too, because like teams just can't stop us with running. So it just that infuriated me too, because I think we ran away from the run. I think we were behind, so that's probably has a part in it, but it just sucks.
That's the thing with the Eagles. That's why their offense isn't that good because it's so predictable what they're gonna do. The best offenses are unpredictable. It
Mhm.
always seems like the opposing defense knows exactly what the Eagles are gonna do. A lot of their screens, I remember I saw a couple players say they knew it was coming and stuff before the Eagles even ran it. So they need to be more unpredictable and I think that would help the offense a lot to be better.
Yeah, and I think that was probably Doug Peterson's fault on play calling. He just didn't know how to play call exactly. The last thing I have to say about like the Eagles, or at least with the players of right now, is what did you think about that coach Doug Peterson being fired and then the hire of our new coach? I think it's Nick Sirianni from the Colts.
Yeah, I was really upset when Doug Peterson got fired because I thought he deserved at least one more season to make things right. So I was upset when he got fired. I like the new head coach. I think he's going to do a good job. He did a good job with the Colts. Frank Reich had a lot of good things to say about him, and that's high praise coming from a pretty good coach too. So I think he'll do a good job with the Eagles. And I also like that they brought in a lot of new coaches because when you have a 4-11 in one season, you need to make a lot of changes. It wouldn't make much sense to keep a bunch of the coach. Yeah, I could hear you.
Okay. You froze after the 4-11 season and then getting the new coaches and stuff.
So I was saying that I like that they brought in a lot of new coaches and they're younger too. They needed to make change with the coaching staff. And I like a lot of the new coaches that they hired. I think they'll do well.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think we should have fired Harry Roseman before we fired Doug Peterson and
Exactly.
gave Doug Peterson another shot to see what he can do. Maybe like a prove it deal. Like if he fails again next season, then probably should fire him. But yeah, I don't agree with the call. But I do really like new coach because he's young and he kind of brings that new fresh look onto it.
And the thing is, I know the offensive coordinator. He was with the Chargers, and they had a top 10 offense, and they actually had the sixth best passing offense. And we all know how good Justin Herbert did in that offense. So there's some hope there. And then the new defensive coordinator that came from the Colts. The Colts, they had a top 10 defense last season too, and they were second against the run. So both of the new coordinators, their units were top 10 in offense and defense. So I think they'll do well with the Eagles, like I said.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I'm really excited to see what the Eagles do this coming year with all the new changes and stuff with the players. Well, we'll see what happens to Carson Wentz and Zach Ertz, but with all these new players and all these new coaches, how do you think the Eagles will perform next season?
I think they'll be okay. I don't think they're gonna be amazing, but I don't think they'll be horrible. I don't know what my record prediction will be. Last year I had them going 11-5, and that was way off. So I don't even think I'm gonna make a record prediction, but I'll probably just lower my expectations. But then again, they'll have a sort of easy schedule because they didn't win the division, so their schedule will be definitely easier than last season. So I'm hoping that as long as they can be a little more healthier and have a solid draft, that they'll have a better record. Probably be right around 500, like maybe 9-7 or 8-8 or something like that. But in this division, that could be enough to win the division, so you never know.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm lowering my expectations way much lower than I had last year because I think I predicted the exact same thing, 11-5 to begin last season,
I
and
had so much hope, and
yeah,
you saw what happened.
yeah. I just wanted to ask you just before we end the podcast, just a couple questions on the Penguins because I know you're a big Penguins guy, and
Yeah,
I want to learn more about the Penguins and stuff. So, like, how do you think they're doing this year?
I think they're doing all right. They're right in the middle of their division. They're not at the top or at the bottom. They're just in the middle. They're fifth right now in the division. They're only a couple points out of like second and third and fourth place. But I just hope they can get on like a good winning streak. I think the most games they've won in a row was 2, but they lost last night, so that got snapped. But I just hope they can get into the playoffs, and then I think they'll be fine.
I saw that they did. I think I saw that they changed some of the players before the beginning of the season. I don't know too much about like the new additions on that team or the players that left. What do you think about the additions of the new players?
Yeah, they made a lot of moves this offseason. I'm pretty sure they made the most moves of any team. They made a bunch of trades and stuff and re-signed guys and stuff. I think for the most part, some of the guys they brought in haven't really done much, and that's disappointing because they have 2 new players on the fourth line, and they haven't like done anything. And they got a couple new defensemen. They've been playing better lately, but to start the season, they were really struggling. So I just hope that some of the new guys that they got can be a little bit more consistent, and then they'll start winning some more games.
Yeah, hopefully they start doing it. I need to start actually watching the games because I want to get into hockey a lot more than I am because it's just since football is done and kind of is a nice transition to another sports team and I just so interesting to watch hockey and stuff.
I
Um,
think that's one of the benefits of like a multiple sports, because if you're just like one sport, it just takes forever until the next season starts and stuff. So I just feel like it's better like multiple sports because there's always something on the watch and stuff and follow.
exactly. I guess last question is what is your or who is your favorite player on each team? Like who's your favorite player on the Eagles? Who's your favorite player on the Penguins? Who's your favorite player on the Bulls, etc., etc.?
So for the Eagles, my favorite player for a while has been Carson Wentz. Like I'm a big Carson Wentz fan. I also really like Brandon Graham just because of how good of a player he is and his personality. I really hope he spends his whole career with the Eagles because he's just so likable and stuff, and he's a beast. For the Penguins, it's pretty easy. I like Sidney Crosby because he's like the best in the league, and he just does crazy stuff. And he's in his mid 30s, and he's still playing like he did when he was in his 20s. Like, he's not slowing down at all. I just hope he can play for a while, kind of like Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And for Manchester United, I like Bruno Fernandes. And for the Bulls, I like Zach LaVine, because without Zach LaVine, the Bulls would be complete trash. He single-handedly won them so many games, and he deserves better. Like, he deserves to be on a better team, but I'm just glad he's with the Bulls, because without him, they'd be so much worse. And then for the Revolution, I don't really have a favorite player yet, because they've only signed like 2 players right now, and that season I believe starts in at the end of May, so there's still a lot of time before they start that season.
Awesome. Wait, another question just popped into my head. Sorry that I keep saying like, oh,
You're
this is
fine.
the last question, but what did you think of how the Bulls ended their season last season?
It was really disappointing because the Bulls, they've just been one of the worst teams for the last handful of years. Like, I remember when they were kind of good when they were making the playoffs consistently, and they had Derrick Rose, Joakim Noah, and guys like that. But ever since then, they've been so bad, and I don't even think they made it past the first round since those years. It's been like 5, 6, 7 years since. Yeah, they've just been so bad the last couple years, and it's frustrating because I don't know when they're going to be good. They've had some bad management too. Like, they got rid of a lot of my favorite players. They traded them away, and ever since that, they've been just bad.
What do you think? How do you think they're going to do this year? As of the like I think it's like game 30 or whatever. How do you think they're going to do the rest of the season?
I think they have a shot at the playoffs because right now they're ninth, and the top 8 teams make the playoffs. But even if they make the playoffs, they'll probably just lose in the first round anyways. But I don't really care. I'd like to see them make the playoffs because it's been a couple years. So I'd just like to see them in it, even if they lose. But you never know what can happen in the playoffs. Crazy things happen all the time. So
Yeah, it's exciting to see. So I think I'm going to wrap up the podcast here. Thank you for coming on. I had a fun time talking sports about you or with you. I want to have you on again eventually. Because I really like talking to you about sports, and I'm going to have a few other guests as well in the next coming weeks. But thank you for coming on, and
thank you for having me on. It was awesome to be the first person on here like that. That was really awesome, and it was fun. And I can't wait to see your other videos that will be coming up too.
thank you. And much appreciated for coming on too and being my first guest. Um, I had a lot of fun, and the video should be posted around Thursday morning, tomorrow morning, to like,
All right, awesome.
yeah,
I'll
or,
definitely watch it.
yeah. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, see ya.
See ya. Have a good one.